Hello everyone, this is Beastly Eel here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the latest episode of Secret Invasion. So this is the halfway point of the series. It is episode 3. There are only 6, so after this we only have 3 left. There are a lot of spoilers ahead, so if you have not seen this episode and you don't like spoilers, I highly recommend that you pause the video, watch the episode, and then come back and see me. But other than that, I think the big thing too is we need to break this up as much as possible. So I'm going to be talking about this a little bit out of order, and I do apologize, but it's easier to explain it this way than it would be to explain it exactly how it happened at all times. So one of the first things we find out is that Nick Fury is married to a Skrull. Now, we were unsure in the last episode whether or not he actually knew she was a Skrull, and in this episode we actually learned that he did know, and that he knows that she is a Skrull. Now, one of the biggest things here is she was never mad at him for not being around. She was more mad at him that he chose to not be around when he came back from the blip. So during the snap, she knew that there was nothing he could do, and she mourned his death and everything else. And when the blip, when everyone came back from the blip, by the blip, I should say, they then thought, well, she thought that they would get back together and everything else, and that didn't happen. Um, and Nick Fury doesn't trust his wife anymore. But at the same time, his wife doesn't trust him anymore because he's changed significantly since the last time they've been together. And so she's claiming that she's more like her old self before Nick Fury than she was and than she is now. So this shows a huge thing right there. And it turns out in the end of this episode, we find out that she's been working with the Rebel Skrulls. Now, the Rebel Skrulls have been working on trying to figure out how to start World War III, so that way they start a nuclear war against each other. And since the Skrulls are resistant to radiation, they would actually be able to survive. And because of this, Skrulls would be in charge of planet Earth. And that's their end goal. So we also see that the fact that they're on their way to building a Super Skrull, they have not created one yet to our knowledge. I want to make that clear. It does not look like that's an obvious one yet. I mean, we know it's going to be happening. There's no way it's not. And apparently, it's the Rebel Scrolls' way of dealing with the issue of metahumans, specifically humans, the superheroes, the Avengers, dealing with them in particular. And so their idea is to become supers themselves, aka Super Scrolls. Love the name, by the way. Who knew where it was going to come from? Anybody who read the comics. The big thing here, though, is it's unclear on how it's going to happen. Meaning, is it going to be a DNA thing? Are they going to have to take the powers from heroes that have already existed, and then and then turn into Super Scrolls? It's unclear. We still don't know. So we'd have to wait and find out for that. What we also find out is that because they're trying to start World War III, um, excuse me, what we find out is Talos and his daughter have been working together. So Talos and his daughter have been working together to try to stop the Rebel Scrolls from causing too much damage. So she's staying behind to have a better idea of what is going on inside the council, basically. And so she can help her dad as best as possible from the inside. So she was helping him out, giving him information, giving him locations of everything, and all that stuff. So because of that, it turns out that she gave him all that information, and they stopped the nuclear attack, or the attack on the UN ship that would have caused a World War III. But they stopped it to the point where the Super Skrull, or I should say, soon to be Super Skrull, um, he did it on purpose to see if she was really on his side. And it turns out he found out that she was the rat. And so he hunted her down and kills her. Shoots her several times. Now, I know it sounds awful when I say this. We don't technically know she's dead. We know that she was shot and she turned back into her Skrull form. But that does not mean that she is actually dead. The reason why I say that is because we have not seen her take her last breath yet, and we're not 100% sure yet, although we're assuming she is based on her transforming back into her Skrull form. Now, Talos has no idea what's going on, in the sense of his daughter being dead yet. So the other big thing here is Talos has been asking his daughter to help out, and now he's responsible for her death. And in fact, Talos is against all the rebel Skrulls because he wants the humans and the Skrulls to live in harmony again, and where they don't have to worry about each other anymore, and then they can be a cohesive team together. And there's a little bit of back and forth between Talos and Nick Fury, a lot of back and forth about who's better and everything else. And he was claiming that, because of the Skrulls, you became director Nick Fury. And if it wasn't because of us, you would still be a desk jockey and nothing more. And, it's one of those things where it's like, is it true? Possibly. But at the same time, it's like he also admits too, Talos says, you are an incredibly smart man, but you alone are not enough to do what you have been able to do. And you need to realize that. This is also a Nick Fury that we are not prepared for. This is a defeated Nick Fury. This is a Nick Fury who doesn't care, who basically just wants to stop everything at any means possible. I mean, threatening some guy's kid is just horrible. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where it's just bad in all thoughts of the world. So, like I said, a lot has happened. A couple of the big things here is Nick Fury had to apologize to Talos, which is a huge thing. Talos is having his daughter help him, and his daughter is now presumably dead. Nick doesn't trust his wife with good reason because apparently she's been working with the Skrull, Rebel Skrulls. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you. We know that there's going to be a build to them creating the Super Skrull. But I don't know where this series is going to go. I'm assuming they're going to continue to try to make Armageddon happen so that the Skrulls are the only ones left. But other than that, man, I honestly have no clue where this is going to go. And I think because of that, it's making this show so much more interesting. And not only that, it's really tough to follow who's who a lot of times in this series because they're doing such a great job in espionage and everything else. Like there was a time where Talos' daughter actually meets with Talos, and we don't even realize it until later. You know what I mean? Because she's in disguise, so it wouldn't be obvious that it was her. But because of the transfer of information, and he finds out later, it makes more sense that it was obviously her. So a lot of this stuff that we have to pay attention to and really have to understand better on what's going on. But overall, very excited with this series. I'm normally not a big fan of spy shows, and I've said this before, but it's definitely kept me interested and really make me think. Which is what I do like about a show in general, but I'm normally not a big spy guy because it's just a lot going on at once. And there is a lot going on at once, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just because I feel invested because of the MCU or whatever, but I definitely feel like it's not overwhelming in my mind. But I also probably also think that it's a lot better if you watch the series from beginning to end nonstop, mostly due to the fact that I imagine that this will all make more sense once you see the whole series. Like you see it all and it's like, oh, I get it. Like you might have to even watch it a second time for you to truly get it. Um, because that's what happens with a lot of like these spies or like Ocean. I always think of like Ocean's 11, which is hilarious because that also has Don Cheadle in it. Cheadle, War Machine. Which I always find hilarious. But other than that, let me know what you guys thought about this episode in the comments below. Did you like it? Did you not? And why? And as always, if you like the content you see, please like and subscribe below. Other than that, this is going to be Beast Eel signing out. Have a great night.